In this section, we're going to show you how to create category sets. For this example, using a football or soccer match, a category set has 3 categories in it. One for the teams, one for the areas on the pitch, and one for the possible events, such as passing, corners, goals. To create your category set, move the cursor up to the Tools option at the top, click, and again click on Category Editor. The Category Editor window opens. When working with focus, if you place the cursor over an icon, it intuitively tells you what this icon does. Here we can see that this is the icon to add a new category to our category set. Left click and the Category Setup window opens. We have the option to name each category. For this football or soccer match, our first category will be for team. We also have the option for a further description, but there's no need just now. Next, we have the option to choose a colour for our category. Click on the Change Colour button. This takes us to the palette. For the teams, we're going to select the colour yellow. Click on the colour that we like, and then click OK. The colour is now assigned. Next, we can configure the number and layout of the buttons in the category. Click Change, and this opens up the button layout window. For the 2 teams, all we require is 1 row with 2 columns. Click OK, and again click OK, and our first category is now there in the Category Editor window. We now want to make the buttons for our category. We do this by placing the cursor here and pressing right click. We then choose the option to Add Button. The Option Button Setup window appears. The first thing we have to do is to give the button a name. These are the teams, and for the first button, this is for the blue team. We're calling this button blue. When using the buttons to enter information on focus, we have the option to assign each button a keyboard shortcut. This can be quicker than using the mouse. We click on the Change button next to Keyboard Assignment, and we simply press the key on the keyboard that we want to assign to the button. For the blue team, we're going to choose B. The keyboard shortcut is now assigned. Next, we're going to choose a custom colour for our button. Again, it would make sense for the blue team for us to choose the colour blue. Click on the Custom option and then on the Change button, and again it brings us to the colour palette. We click on the colour that we want, blue, click OK, and the colour is now assigned. Click on OK in the Option Button Setup window and our first button is ready. It's now time to create the button for the white team. Again, in the white space, right click and choose Add Button. Again, the Option Button Setup window opens. For the white team, we're going to describe it as white. Again, we're going to give it a keyboard assignment for speed. This time we're going to choose the key W. Click, and it is now assigned. Lastly, we want to change the colour to white. Again, move the cursor down to the Custom Colour icon. Click on the Change button and the colour palette opens. Here we choose white. We click OK, and the colour is now assigned. We click OK in the Option Button Setup window, and here we can see our 2 buttons ready to use. Now we want to create the next category. Again, we click on the Add New Category icon and go through the steps as before. This category is for the actions. As before, we want to assign this category a colour. Once again, click on the Change button and choose the colour that we want for the actions category. Click OK and the colour is assigned. There's going to be a different layout for the actions. This time we're going to have 2 rows with 4 buttons in each row, giving us a total of 8 possible actions for us to log during the game. Click OK and the category is there ready for us to create the buttons. Going through the same process with right click, Add Button, and giving each button a name, a keyboard assignment, and if we want a different colour. For the actions, we're happy to keep them all the same colour. And by the time we've gone through this process 8 times, we have the 8 buttons ready for us. For the actions for this game, finished off with goals, the 8 buttons are passing, crossing, shooting, turnover, corner, goal kicks, free kicks and goals. The final category that we want for this soccer match is the area of the pitch. Again, we go through the same process in the category setup window, naming the category area and creating the buttons. Here we have attack, midfield and defence. Our categories and our buttons are now ready to use. Again, as we showed you at the start, we have the teams, the possible actions and the areas on the pitch. Focus allows you to change and edit the buttons that you have set up. Right click and choose left click on button properties. Again, this opens up the option button setup window. For this category, we're going to change it to goalkeeper saves. We type in the new name, click OK, and there is our new button, replacing the old one, from goal kicks to goalkeeper saves. Focus also allows us to change the setup of each category. Right click on the white panel to the left of the buttons and then left click on category properties. This opens up the category setup window again. Again, we look to the layout and click on the change button. Here we can go and edit the button layout. Perhaps we might want to add 2 more actions. So instead of 2 rows of 4, we're going to make it 2 rows with 5 columns in each. Once we are happy, move down to the OK button, click, and again in the category setup window, click, and there on the right hand side we can see space for 2 new buttons, where once again we right click, choose add button and enter the information as before. We now have 2 extra buttons in our actions category. Focus also allows us to change the layout of our categories. Should we want to move one category up or down, simply right click, and here we want to move the actions down so that it's below the area category. Now that we have the categories in the order that we like, it's time to look at the timestamp and log trigger icons. The timestamp is the icon with a little clock in it. This lets us know that when we go to enter information, the time is recorded to the category where the timestamp is set, i.e. when we press blue or white, that is the time recorded for the event. This is important as it may take a few seconds to click on all the information we need for each event. The timestamp is usually best in the first category for the first piece of information that you're going to enter. So for now, we're going to leave it up at the top with team. The log trigger icon is best placed at the last piece of action that you want to enter or the bottom of your categories. So for this example, we want to move the log trigger from the team category down to the actions category. We do this by once again right clicking under the actions title and left clicking on category properties. In the category setup window, we look for the option that says this category is the log trigger. Left click in the box and the log trigger is now assigned to this category. Click on the OK button and a window pops up asking us if this is definitely what we want to do. Click yes and the log trigger is now assigned to the bottom category. In summary, it's best to have the timestamp next to the first piece of information you're going to enter and the log trigger next to the last. Now that we've created the category set just how we want it, it's time to save it. There are 2 options for this in the category editor window. The icon on the left is simply to save it. What we would recommend is using the icon on the right, which allows you to save the category with a new name, similar to the Save As option on many Windows applications. Left click and a window opens asking you where you want to save your category set. This can be a little confusing if you're not used to working with programs on Windows. You can click here to browse the folders on your computer, or here a drop-down menu should offer you some options for different locations. When you downloaded Focus from the internet, it automatically created several folders under the folder of My Focus Files. Click on this and it will open the folders, and as this is a category set that we are saving, click on the Categories folder. When opened, the folder shows that there are some templates already there, such as baseball, soccer, swimming and tennis. You can save your categories in these folders or simply in the category folder as we are going to do. To do this, go to the bottom of the window and type in the name of your category. For this one, we're going to call it Football Demo Category 1. Click Save and your category setup is now saved, and you can see this in the category editor window up at the top. Also, when you go into My Focus Files and into the categories folder, you should see the category there ready to use for the next project.